Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video I am working on this round base dining table that I found on Craigslist for free. I've been looking for one of these for a little while to try and make one of those DIY fluted dining tables. I think they look pretty cool and they're worth a pretty penny, usually anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 new. So let's see what we can turn this one into. It was in pretty good condition. There was some sticky residue on top. The edges were scuffed up a little bit and there were screws missing that connected them from top to bottom, but overall it was decent condition. So let's get things started. First thing I'm going to do is prep the table base and get it ready for the fluted pieces we will be installing. So this table base was made of veneer and I noticed some cracks throughout, but it wasn't a big deal. The biggest issue I wanted to fix was the chipped veneer in the bottom, which we will soon. Since this piece was free and I don't know where it's been, I wanted to clean it up with some crud cutter, so I spray it and we will give this a good degreasing. The inside had some spider webs, so I wanted to clean that up too. After using a cleaner, it's best to clean it up with some water, so I'm just using water and a rag here to clean it up. Now I'm using Bondo filler, and you just mix your Bondo with the hardener, and we're going to use that to fill in the chipped veneer on the bottom of the base. I let the Bondo completely dry and harden, and then I started sanding it with my oscillating tool sander, but that wasn't enough, so then I finished it off with my random orbital sander. Here you can see sanded versus non-sanded. I wanted to make this entire piece a bit rough, so I hand sand the entire thing so the glue will stick on even better. It'll just create a better adherence to the surface. After sanding, I use a damp rag and just clean up the dust that was created when sanding. So I just picked up about $300 Canadian worth of this 1.5 inch half round molding pieces. They're poplar wood, poplar, however you pronounce it. And these are just a bit bigger than what I need. I also have all these pieces that are about 7 feet, and I'll cut them down to this length by hand. So this is going to be a bit of work. So the first piece is the most important piece here, and I really wanted to make sure it was straight because then it lines it up for the rest of them to be straight as well. So I had to be very careful here. So I picked up a ton of Type-On too for this project. Do you think I have enough? To make sure the first piece was nice and straight, I clamped on my level and also my square, and then I applied the glue on both the base and the piece of wood, and then I attached it and clamped it on and made sure it was straight. So that is a good way to get it started. Now it's time to do this about 50 times. I made sure to add a lot of glue and try to cover all the area underneath, but with a lot of glue you're going to get some squeeze when you clamp it down in between these pieces, and I made sure to clean up every single time with a paintbrush and just clean up the extra glue that was spitting up. I tested 3 pieces first just to make sure this was working, and then I got things going. So I only have 8 large clamps, so I could only do 4 pieces at a time. That would have to sit on for 45 minutes to an hour, and then I could move on to the next batch. And things were looking good, so I just kept this process going, and I also started working on the table simultaneously to when I was working on the base. So have you heard of Woodworkers Guild of America? It's your online resource for woodworking instructions, ideas, and information. You'll find a ton of premium videos covering a variety of woodworking topics, including everything from furniture making to shop safety to cabinet making and so much more. With my current table project, I was using a lot of glue, so I watched a lot of their wood glue videos, and I've learned a lot, like how much glue is enough, how to properly clean it up. So you can imagine if there's a lot of videos on glue, there's a lot of videos on a variety of woodworking topics that are very helpful. I like refinishing furniture, and there's great videos on wood finishes and even how to make your own wood finish, which is pretty cool. But I think it's also awesome that they offer projects like making furniture from scratch and showing you the step-by-step process, and also small woodworking day projects like building a cool serving tray. But it's not just about the videos, it's also about the community. You can connect with other woodworkers, ask questions, and share your own ideas, because woodworking isn't just a hobby, it's a passion that's meant to be shared. And if you want to try it out, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the video description will get a full year of premium membership to Woodworkers Guild of America for only $1.49. So now I'm going to test 2 of these strippers. One's a liquid. The red is a liquid stripper, and the yellow is the gel stripper by circa 1850. And I just wanted to see if either one would work better here. So the liquid stripper didn't really do anything on this tabletop. The gel stripper didn't do a lot either, but there was some of this finish coming off, so that was a plus. I also tested my carbide scraper, and it really was doing no damage to this top. I also tried some acetone because I think this is epoxy. It's either epoxy or lacquer, but this didn't really do much either. A tiny bit came up. So I decided to just throw the liquid gel on, and we were going to throw a nice bit overnight, and hopefully we can get some of this finish off. A little bit of tape. So I came back the next morning, removed the plastic wrap, and the stripper was dry, so I added some more to reactivate it, and then I left it on for another 20 minutes. And then I started scraping it, and not much finish came off. There was still a very thick layer of this stuff on there. Now I'm going to use mineral spirits just to clean off the top from the stripper residue. I noticed since using the stripper, the top became softer, which was nice. So some parts were actually coming off. So then I used my carbide scraper, and I could kind of dig into this weird finish and start scraping it, but it still was not an easy task. But I decided that this was the way I was gonna start removing this top. Oh no, I started getting flashbacks of my last project where I had to scrape paint for 3 days. After a lot of scraping, I decided to take your guys' advice from my last project where many of you said use a heat gun. So I took out my heat gun that was still brand new in the box, and I gave it a try, and it actually started working really nicely on this stuff. It was still a slow process, but at least I wasn't working my butt off trying to remove it. So I just took my time and just scraped piece by piece. I should probably have gloves on here, I'll be honest. If you guys enjoy my videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notifications. Some areas the heat and scraper actually ripped some veneer off, so we have to fix that up later, sadly. After a few hours of using the heat gun, I pretty much removed all the finish, but there was still kind of a cloudiness to it, so I used my sander to remove as much as I could. You could see a few damages here from the veneer peeling up. I used a concave scraper on the edges here, and it helped remove the finish on this area. The really deep cracks, I'm going to use the teardrop scraper and these deep grooves here. Now I'm going to use wood glue to fix the damaged veneer areas. This area was probably the worst, but I had a piece of wood that I actually peeled off that I glued back on, then I threw a ton of glue on it, and then I just clamped a piece of wood over it, and then we'll fill it in later. So I started using this wood putty kit, and I had it mixed with the colors it came with, and I just didn't like how it applied and how it looked when it was on, so I just removed that, and then I just put the wood putty just without any color added. I just added that to the holes. Finally, I was throwing on my last pieces of wood. So last piece is going to be a 2-inch piece, but right now it's still a tiny bit too big. So I'm just going to sand down one side until it fits nicely. It's really not much. There we go. It felt great to throw that last piece on. Okay, so now I need to, this is the bottom, so I'm gonna go around with my random orbital sander and sand all of these to make them smooth and, well, flat and level with the base of the table. So let's sand all that now. Hopefully it doesn't split the wood outwards. I don't think it will if I just try to keep it flat. So, see what happens. Now I'm going to hand sand each piece, starting with 150 and then 240. So, got lots. Let's get started. Anyone wondering why this is necessary? Scratches like this need to be sanded out, or the stain is just going to show exactly where it is. And there's also glue throughout the piece that just happened to get on some parts that needs to be sanded, and so do these scratches, so it looks nice. Now I'm using pre-stain before I stain the poplar wood, just because it's a raw wood. I thought this would help it out a bit. I'm using American Oak General Finishes Gel Stain, and I'm just going to apply it with a chip brush and then wipe it off. The camera makes it a little bit darker and orange and yellow looking, but it's mostly the lights in the camera, so it is a bit lighter in person, and it looks a lot different in natural light, which you'll see soon. I had to use a mini brush again inside the grooves just to get this stain that was deep in there. Finally, it's time to stain the top. Remember when I said I used that putty that was with the color? Well, I forgot I used it on two tiny areas without cleaning it up, and these areas did not take any stain, so this was an error and I had to sand them and redo the area. So then I filled the little tiny holes in with the wood putty because it stained really nice, and then I let that dry. So that area kind of made things look uneven, so I'm going to take 600 grit sandpaper and just sand the entire top piece here, and then we're going to restain the top again. I must say that helped clean it up a lot. And I'm using Varathane Diamond Wood Finish. This is a water-based polyurethane, and I'm just going to apply it with a foam applicator sponge, and let's get started. I did 3 coats on the base, and I got started with the water-based poly on the top. Almost didn't see those. That could have been very bad. Get away, fly. And when you think your project is done, the veneer is lifting in the area that you glued earlier, but further to the right. So I use my utility knife, pop it open, and fill the glue in. Solid. After fixing that up, I added more water-based polyurethane coats, and I did 6 coats on the top in total for durability. And finally, let's take a look at this yellowy orange table one more time before with the chipped veneer and the scratches on the edges. This table just needed a bit of love. And finally, here is what this table looks like in my apartment after. I'm not 100% sure if I'm keeping this yet. It's a little bit big for my space, but it looks really good in it. I have to say I'm happy with the color and how it turned out. And it was a lot of fun because I was picturing doing this project for a long time. And I think this base just looks really, really cool. What do you guys think? Hey, Chuck. You like the table? Hey, Chuck. You like the table? If you guys enjoyed this project, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on my future furniture videos. Thanks so much for watching.